For decades, the sport of horse racing has captivated audiences around the world. The thrill of the win, the sting of defeat, the excitement of watching history unfold before your very eyes, and, of course, the teamwork between jockey and thoroughbred fashions a sport unlike any other. Known as the sport of kings, horse racing possesses worldwide prominence, from the Triple Crown races in the United States to the $20 million Saudi Cup races held in Saudi Arabia, to Royal Ascot in the United Kingdom. Each thoroughbred is born with an aura of hope surrounding it, that this colt could be the next Kentucky Derby winner, or that this filly could be the first filly to ever win the Triple Crown. They train their whole lives to succeed at what they were bred for, to run and win. Throughout the years, we have seen racehorses reach immortality through their accomplishments, leading some, like Secretariat, to even outrank human athletes on the top competitor charts. But for the past several years, horse racing's reputation has taken a ride on the history-making roller coaster. However, not every climb was achieved through positive means, and the drops left people screaming for reformation in the sport's regulations. Despite 2 Triple Crown championships, new track records, and underdog stories, horse racing's negative elements have taken center stage, establishing the sport in society's eyes as one of immorality. But there is hope for change. It all started in 2015 when a colt named American Pharoah began his journey towards winning the Triple Crown. His Kentucky Derby win showed that the colt was a determined runner, as he came from a position on the outside to eventually win the race. 2 weeks later, American Pharoah dominated a sloppy track as he pulled away by 7.5 lengths to win the Preakness Stakes. Then, 3 weeks later, American Pharoah was poised to run in the Belmont Stakes, a race that is designed to determine racing royalty. For 37 years, horse racing fans had waited for a thoroughbred to end the Triple Crown drought, and finally, one delivered. A crowd of 90,000 people roared to life as American Pharoah crossed the wire and became the 12th Triple Crown winner in history. It was a spectacle unlike any other. As Tim Layden with NBC Sports said, when American Pharoah crossed the finish line and ended the 37-year drought, it really felt like the sport had been set free. Horse racing finally had a story and a star. American Pharoah re-established the sport's prominence in American society. He not only won the Triple Crown, but he went on to become the first and only Grand Slam winner when he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. American Pharoah's accomplishments, as well as the public's rekindled fascination with the Triple Crown, rapidly paved the way for a new star to take the stage. In 2018, a chestnut colt named Justify was soon making headlines after he won the Kentucky Derby. Unlike past winners, Justify's win had a particular significance to it, as he became the first horse since 1882 to win the Kentucky Derby without first racing as a 2-year-old. After winning the Preakness Stakes, Justify went on to run in the Belmont Stakes against a field of 9 other horses. The grandstands reverberated with jubilance when Justify crossed the wire and became the 13th horse to ever win the Triple Crown. While the Belmont would be the last time that Justify would ever race due to an injury that he sustained in his front left ankle, Justify had already etched his name in history. Not only was he a Triple Crown winner, but he was the first and only horse to win the Triple Crown and retire undefeated. But his perfect record would soon come into question. In September of 2019, it was discovered that Justify failed a drug test after he won the 2018 Santa Anita Derby, a race that qualified him to run in the Kentucky Derby. Upon learning about this information and the pending investigation into the positive drug test, numerous requests were made to have Justify disqualified from a Santa Anita win. These were primarily made by Mick Ruiz, the owner and trainer of the second-place winner, Bolt d'Oro. The entirety of the investigation lasted until 2021, nearly 2 years after the initial discovery was made. The California Horse Racing Board ruled that Justify's Santa Anita win would remain, since the positive drug test resulted from how Justify accidentally ate hay that was contaminated with Jimson weed. This is what caused him to test positive for the banned substance scopolamine. But it was too late. The damage to horse racing's credibility was already done, and the subject of illegal performance-enhancing drugs quickly became the sport's newest focal point. In March of 2020, it was discovered that 20 trainers and veterinarians were charged with the illegal doping of racehorses. Among the indicted was Jason Service, the trainer of Maximum Security. Evidence found that Service and other trainers had been drugging horses with the illegal substance SGF-1000 in order to increase their stamina, performance, and, supposedly, their overall health. Due to the chemical makeup of SGF-1000, however, this drug was designed to be undetected when the horse went through its pre- and post-race drug tests. The widespread knowledge of the illegal drugging of racehorses was a striking blow to the horse racing industry and to society as a whole. It caused people to view the sport in an entirely different light. No longer was it a sport of thrill and excitement. Rather, it was seen as one of greed and the desire to do anything to win the purse money. Actions were soon put into place to urge Congress to pass the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act in order to define more uniform drug policies. But the act was not passed soon enough. Once again, the shadowed spotlight fell on horse racing when it was discovered that Medina Spirit tested positive for the banned substance betamethasone after he won the 2021 Kentucky Derby. His trainer was Bob Baffert, and this was his 5th drug violation in 13 months. Despite all of the success stories that transpired during the 2020 and 2021 racing seasons, horse racing continued to make headlines for recurring drug scandals. With the lack of a commissioner and uniform drug regulations, the sport faced severe scrutiny for seemingly enabling trainers and veterinarians to feasibly drug their horses, race them, and receive the purse money from the horses' winnings. The drug scandals revolving around horse racing has painted the sport in a highly negative light. While those inside of the industry are aware of the positive elements, such as new track records, top-selling yearlings, successful stallions, underdog stories like Rich Strikes, the 2022 Kentucky Derby winner, and the fact that the horse racing industry employs thousands of people inside of prominent horse racing states, those outside of the industry see horse racing as a sport that abuses its animals. This perception has put horse racing in jeopardy as animal advocacy groups continue to search for ways to shut down the industry. Indeed, harm is coming to thoroughbreds in the horse racing industry. But not every trainer, not every owner, not every veterinarian is harming their horse. There are individuals, groups, and organizations within the sport of horse racing that are treating their horses humanely, that are abstaining from illegal drugging, and that are advocating for reformation in the sport as a whole. But unfortunately, these people are not addressed in society. The general media does not highlight the positive elements of the sport, and animal advocacy groups do not praise those who behave ethically towards their horses. This lack of awareness is part of the problem with horse racing's image. The illegal drugging has taken such a toll that it has placed the sport in a position where it is under constant scrutiny, and not even the successes or triumphs of horses like American Pharoah and Justify can completely alter society's perception of the sport. Instead, the drug scandals continue to take center stage. This has to stop. The only way that horse racing can reclaim its positive image is to rid itself of its old one, and the only way to do that is to establish a unified system that addresses drug violations, sets a defined list of what drugs are legal and when they can be in a horse's system, and clearly establishes the consequences that a trainer, veterinarian, or owner receives should they violate these regulations. The sport also needs to reach the point where it can quickly address drug violations. Rather than taking months or even years to determine the outcome of a race that was won under a performance-enhancing drug, the sport needs to find a way to quickly reach a decision. Hopefully, the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act can help with this. Every spring, the horse racing industry welcomes a new crop of foals into the world. Every one was carefully bred, selecting the mare and the stallion to hopefully create the next legend. Everyone deserves the chance to run their race without human interference. The problem with the sport of horse racing is not the horses. Unlike human athletes, horses cannot willingly decide to drug themselves to perform better and increase their likelihood of winning. Justify, Opportunity, Charlatan, Gamine, Medina Spirit, Maximum Security, XY Jet, and every single horse that has been drugged illegally is not at fault. It is the people who are illegally drugging their horses that are the problem. It is time for horse racing to recalibrate and put its attention on the athletes who have no say in what is done to them, but do everything that is asked of them. Rather than making a specific trainer the figure of the sport, why not make the horse the figure? Whether it is Triple Crown champions like American Pharoah or Justify, or even the underdog 2022 Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike, focusing on the horses establishes an industry that recognizes what makes it run, function, and succeed. Without horses, the sport of horse racing is destined to remain in history. American Pharoah and Justify set the sport of horse racing free. They brought it to a level of prominence that it had not possessed since Secretariat won the Triple Crown in 1973. We need to honor that. It is our job as fans, bettors, breeders, trainers, owners, handlers, and jockeys to ensure that the sport's prominent figures are protected for generations to come. With this mindset, horse racing has a very bright future. Without it, the sport will only be known for its failures.